Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
Hello, welcome to National Discourse this beautiful day, and it is Friday, and I thank God it's Friday. But today we have a very light topic. I say it's light, it's not that very serious that that would cause agitation from the minds of people. Now we are looking at why our president embarked on medical trip. What is wrong with our hospitals? What is wrong with us that we can't fix up certain things? This is what we are going to look at today. And then we'll have someone who will do justice to that. But we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we introduce the person to you, and then we want you to stay glued to your television set, and then our number will be rolling there on the screen. So you can call us and make your contributions or your questions that are necessary to this program. I still remain your host, Uche Uduma. Let's go there.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa Nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
what happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse, weekdays on NCTV.
All right, so welcome back from that short break, and we are still looking at Buhari Strip. The person we have in the studio to do justice to this, we have Mr. Henry Loden, and then he's a senatorial aspirant coming 2019. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we hope you will do justice to this topic as we are all seated, and then, of course, waiting for us to digest this. Now, straight on. Our president have embarked on another medical trip. How worrisome is this to the nation?
This is very, very worrisome because we have witnessed, almost 3 to 3.5 years of the president's medical trips. If there's anything that is a constant in this regime, is the president traveling abroad with a large crowd of people for medical attention. We did not vote a president so that we can take care of his health. Somebody is sick and then he is the president of an ailing nation, a nation that is sick as well. So I have a feeling that he was not able to do a lot. Maybe there were so many things that he actually planned to do, but he couldn't achieve them. Most importantly, because he has always been abroad for medical treatment. So this is not good for the economy, it's not good for the nation, and I don't think it's even good for him to be in that position as a president and as a minister of petroleum and facing his health at the same time. It's not good for him as a person.
Now let's look at the justification for traveling, all right, with a large crowd. And looking at this critically, you discover that the president travels with public funds. It's Nigerian money. The question is, why moving with a large crowd? That is the question. Before we look at whether it's justifiable for him to travel or how constant it is that his travel has become.
You see, funny enough, we have. I think I saw a video where former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, was speaking about him traveling to Abuja with a large entourage, and he asked each person, like on their way to outside the government house, he was like, why is this one following me? Why are you following me, sir? My own is to carry your bag. Don't worry, stay, I'll carry my bag. Why are you following me? Sir, my own is that I'm supposed to make sure that your hotel room is fine. Then what's the purpose of the hotel staff? Stay, I'm going alone. Sir, my own is that. So all this stuff really, it's completely useless. Most of all the crowd that follow our public officers are just a waste of money on top of Nigeria's public funds. So we thought that a person of the president of Buhari would, throw a different part and say, okay, cut all these costs, all these people following me abroad. It costs a lot to fly somebody abroad and keep them in a hotel or keep them somewhere, and then money is being wasted all the time, and they are not being useful to themselves back home, and they are not being useful to themselves. They are not the doctor. They're not the doctor. All he needed probably was somebody that would take care of him, like a nurse, like maybe his wife, or maybe his children, or 1 or 2 staff, not 10 staff, 100 staff. 1 or 2 people to take care of him there, and his security detail, which is not so much. He's in a foreign land.
Now, ever since he's been traveling, he has always been moving with this large crowd. And the next question is it that there's nobody to check him on that? Because it's not a personal money.
You see, we run a totalitarian government in Nigeria, which is very bad for democracy. Power is completely gathered and centralized, and everything the president does, nobody questions him. All right, we have an IGP of police that was invited for questioning, and 3 times he refused to show up. And who is supposed to make him show up? And you see, when we have this wanton disrespect to the legislative arm of government, nobody is supposed to question the executive. Well, but we have a legislative body that is supposed to be doing that. But they have been made completely powerless by our own brand of democracy. And this is an issue that should be looked at, because we are supposed to have somebody that checks the president and says, no, you are going the wrong direction. And these same people are supposed to sit down and impeach the president if he's doing the wrong thing, and they caution him, and he continues to do the wrong thing. But in our own brand of democracy, that is, the entire power is vested with the executive and the presidency, and nobody questions them. No. And even the judiciary does not question them, because he will sack the chief judge, he will sack the attorney general of the federation, he will sack everybody else. So we're looking at a situation where we have a really bastardized democracy, and we have no respect for the rule of law. We have no respect whatsoever to the constitution of the country, because nobody can question the executive. That's the problem we have right now. Because if nobody can look into the activities of, appointed government officers or the president himself, then there's a problem. That means they can do anything they want to do, and nobody questions them. That means they can just wake up and make a very bad policy for the nation, and not for the good of Nigeria, but for their pockets, and nobody can stop that. So that's the problem we have at hand.
Now, the principle of checks and balances is embedded in our constitution.
That's why I'm saying we are unconstitutional. Nobody listens to what the constitution says anymore. If you look at, why would an IG of police not honor the invitation of the watchdog of democracy, the Senate. That's the highest legislative body in the body. That's in the country. That's the Federal Senate has invited you 3 times, and you rubbish that invitation without any iota of respect for democracy or for the country. That's totally unconstitutional and totally wrong for him to do. Because they have the power to investigate.
No, they have the power to
given to them.
All right?
From
the Constitution gives them, yes, Section 88.
Very good.
Gives them the
8
power,
and 89.
yes, to investigate. But that section, there is a lacuna in that section, because the section did not give them the power to punish offenders.
They're not trying to punish, they're investigating.
No. We are saying...
They're inviting him to come and answer questions.
No, I'm saying, if you are being summoned,
yes,
and you don't appear,
yes,
the section does not give them the right to take actions.
But the section gives some other people the right to take action against those who cross the Constitution.
The IGP reports to the president directly. So if he's been summoned and he did not show up, it goes back to the president.
Who is the custodian of the Constitution?
The court, the judiciary.
Why didn't they take action?
No. You can't. Now, the constitutional provision is, if you summon the IGP, for example, and he does not show up, you report him to the president. You don't take any other action. That's what I'm saying.
Now, the president is the #1 citizen of Nigeria, right?
Yes.
I think he should be the #1 custodian of the Constitution, because he sought to protect it.
So,
now his IGP crossed good. His IGP crossed the Constitution, and he's aware of it, and he does nothing about it. Yes. What are we saying? We said they flouted the Constitution. These are the same people that are supposed to be protecting the Constitution, but they are crossing it daily.
It's too bad for democracy, we know. But we are saying, towing the line of the Constitution and trying to restrict yourself within the ambit of the law. If the IGP does that, you only report to the president. So the power rests on the president to either caution him. But hey, talking about the president cautioning someone, the same IGP have flouted the president's orders.
Yes, he sent him to Benue and he went to Nasarawa State, and then he did nothing about it. So what I'm saying is that we are a lawless nation, and the kind of democracy we're practicing is short of what a democracy is. Completely short of it, because every African leader wants to have absolute power, and he doesn't want anybody to question him on what he does or what he decides to do. And that is what we've been having, and nobody is checking that, because there are plenty of people in government who are supposed to be doing that, but they are too corrupt for that. And that's the problem we have. Once there's corruption anywhere, the beauty of democracy is lost.
But you and I know that part of the slogan that this government brought or promised Nigerians they were going to do is to fight corruption. So why are you still saying there is corruption everywhere in the government?
Madam Uche, do you see any fight against corruption in any part of this government, aside the TSA they implemented, which was a creation of the previous regime, the BVN they came up with for banks, which is not really stopping anything, because those people who are really doing what they are doing, they are still doing it.
So are you alleging that this government have not done anything or not done enough in the fight against corruption?
They've not done enough in the fight against corruption, because people are still corrupt, and they keep shouting since their inception. They've been shouting the past administration is corrupt, the past administration is corrupt, we're going to refund, they are going to refund the government what they have stolen. We have not seen what they have refunded. You've never told us what they have refunded, and we've not seen what you are doing with it. The country's economy has been going down. Every indices of development has been reversing since this administration came into power. So what is the benefit of his fight against corruption? What is the indices? How can we measure his fight against corruption? We have so many bad people who have, we know their records. They've had cases with EFCC, and they come out smiling and shaking hands and laughing. And how many of them have been indicted? How many of them have been charged to court? How many of them have been prosecuted? How many of them have been sentenced? How many of them are in jail right now? How many, really, of the corrupt people that we have in this country?
I think your last statement is better off. How many of them are in jail? Because right now, we still have some cases that are ongoing. How
many of them are in jail? These cases will be ongoing till the end of this administration, and the cases will die a natural death. That's the style. That's what's going on. That's the mirage. That's the facade they're showing us to make us feel they are fighting corruption. All right? There's little noise about Dasuki. There's little noise about this one here and there. And then is Zagzaki corrupt? Why are you jailing people and then keeping them in detention without trial? And then you call that a fight against corruption? I don't think so. I don't think so, personally.
If you want to talk about that, I would want to agree with you when you say that most times they try to suspend the constitution because the courts clearly have given instructions to grant bail ex-Zazaki and Dasuki Gate, but the instructions have never been followed.
There's total disrespect for the constitution. The courts are part of the judiciary. They are being disrespected by the executive. The legislative arm of government is part of the government. They are also disrespected, and all of these people have powers in the constitution, and they have their responsibilities, and you are not allowing them to do their job. So what are we saying now? Is that not corruption on its own?
Now, what if
when you disrespect the constitution of your country, is that not corruption?
I'll leave you to determine that because that is opinion. Because the truth is, some other person will come here and say the government have done fairly well and give you his indices why probably to back up.
I will tell you that these people are brainwashed. Anybody saying that knows that his children's school fees have gone up and petroleum price has gone up and the price of rice in the market has gone up. You can't tell me that it is better now. It's not possible. You can only tell me you've brainwashed yourself. And if you will sit down here and blame the previous administration for what is going on right now, then you are brainwashed. Because these people came and they have a fresh pitch. They can't tell me that fuel is now $23 per barrel. It's not possible. That's not true. All right? So they can't tell me that. And they can't tell me that they have made nothing since they came on board. And they have actually collected some funds from past politicians. So what are they doing? Really? I mean, how can you honestly score this government good? I mean, I try to do that because I'm not sentimental and I don't hate anybody. And I'm not concerned about persons. And I looked at what is going on from a neutral mind. And I tried to justify so many things. And my friends felt I like Buhari. Because I was trying to say, let's give this guy a break. The first few months of his being in power, we looked at what he was doing. And each time he does something, they shout, I say, wait now. We're trying to get something right. Wait. And so over the years, I've come to agree that, number one, these people have no plan for the economy of Nigeria. Number two, these people do not know where they're going to. Number three, they have put a lot of people in places where they don't fit. That's the truth.
They don't fit or they don't deserve.
They don't fit. It's not about being deserving of anything. It's about you want to fix a problem. You want to fix a mathematical problem, but you brought a biologist to fix it.
Fine. I had a guest yesterday that debunked that, saying that all these offices are political offices. It doesn't matter the profession.
Political or not political, many of these offices require intelligence. They require skills. They require competency.
What do you say about a lawyer manning the position of Minister of Power?
That is a very huge crime. I'll call it a crime against that ministry, because there are so many people in this country who are apprehensive of what the power ministry is all about. These people have administrative prowess. These people have technical knowledge. These people have creative ability to sit down and say, let's create a power mix. Let's change our sources of power generation. But this one can only administer the people there, and whatever they tell him about the machines there, that's what he works with. That means he cannot create a vision for that ministry for himself, because he's not even inclined. He doesn't even know what is going on in the power ministry except what those people wearing that factory caps are telling him. So the problem we have really is that Babatunde Raji Fashola is somebody I respect for how he managed Lagos. But truly, it has occurred to me, because I've been watching him. I've got so many videos of his tours around the power sector and all the things that he was trying to do and how he was trying to understand the problem and explain it. This man has nothing to offer the Ministry of Power. I can say it boldly and clearly here that his appointment, in fact, he has a double cap. His appointment did not fit what that office requires, because up to now, I think power is worse now. Because they promised us that in 1 year they will fix power. But have they kept that promise?
No.
No. Why haven't they kept that promise?
I don't think we should start looking at promises, like I keep saying. You know, those political tenets that before you come into power, these are the things you just have to throw up to Nigeria. We'll still come to that because we have election coming up next year. Now, what is going to be our measure to be able to ascertain who is fit to run for certain positions? Because when you talk about political talks during campaign, first of all, we'll start with we're going to defeat the Boko Haram in 3 months. That has not been done. We're going to be feeding the children, and this has not gone across the country. So I think all those are political talks embedded in campaign during politics or when there is going to be an election.
But it's unfortunate for you to lie to people because you want to win election. That's why we've been getting it wrong. You don't put people in office based on promises. You check who they are. That's why I keep telling media houses, can you bring all these people here and ask them, what's your hobby? What have you been doing with your time outside politics? Why do you want to be in office? If you've occupied an office before, we ask you exactly, you go deep. That's what journalists do around the world. You go deep into everything they've done. In fact, you go through a lot of audio to find certain information about these people and ask them on TV, how did you manage this? Why is this like this? How did we get it here? Why are you now campaigning for a second tenure, or why are you now looking for so and so offices? Why do you think you can do it? Let people know these people, because in Nigeria we don't vote people we know. We just vote parties and we vote who they tell us to vote, which is wrong, and that's why we've been putting the wrong people in the right places. And so by the time we start getting these things right, we will now begin to fix Nigeria. But as long as we continue in this trajectory, everything will continue to go down or stay in the position where they are. So we need to get those things
now,
right.
Before we go for that short break, we'll return back and we're looking at the state of our hospitals, and then why do we keep graduating medical doctors when we really don't trust their judgment on our health? Why won't public officers, political office holders, stay back in Nigeria and be treated? And that goes alongside with the education. Why will you send your children abroad when you are trying to build educational sector? And this is in line with what Falana has been putting up, recently because of this travel that just took place. So we'll do all that, but that will be when we come back from the break. Please stay with us.
Welcome to National Discourse.
Current affairs.
We must not extricate anybody from corruption. If any one of them is found wanting, the due course and the law must take its course.
Nation building.
Administration is slightly different from the last one in the fight against corruption.
We need to really task our leaders, who are the religious leaders, from the emir, from the bishops, from whoever they can.
Some of our village markets, there are people, they call them in Hausa nakama. They are like Agberu in the markets. Whatever anything is not useful to you is not important to you.
Politics.
What happened in Benue might be political. It still has another tone, not political, dated way back. If you follow history,
it's interactive.
Not part of Nigeria. Okay. And it will not be good for us.
When they gather their people, they tell them, these Hausa people are your enemies. When the Hausas gather together, they tell them, these Igbo people are your enemies. When the Yoruba people gather together, they say the same thing.
Who are we? We are just from the background. And today, we are here in TSTV. And that is why we must propagate our own.
National Discourse. Weekdays on NCTV.
All right, welcome back from that short break. Now, before we went on the break, we said we were going to be reviewing the state of our hospitals and the state of the kind of medical doctors we turn out in the country. Because if you are able to turn out people, you train them properly, you have good educational system, then you should be able to trust their judgment to stay back and submit your body for them for medical treatment. And straight back to this, sir, what is the state of our hospital?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I'm happy for the question for two reasons. One, my whole campaign is hinged on three things: health, security, and education. Why? I'm a graduate of the Faculty of Medicine, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. And I've been a medical student for some time. And I was there in ABUTH where the Obasanjo administration revamped the Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital. I was there when those Koreans came with their containers and opened it. We were going for lectures in the morning. We'll see them doing their thing. Coming back from lectures in the morning, in the afternoon or evening, we'll see them fixing things until they completely changed the face of Ahmadu Bello University Teaching Hospital. And it was a new teaching hospital. And then we were taken round as medical students to see all the machines they brought in, the MRI machines, the computer tomography machines, and everything else that was required of a modern day medical facility. And most of those things were there. Now, that came from a regime that had a plan, a medical plan for the hospitals in Nigeria. And that was the Obasanjo administration. I'm not trying to score the President Obasanjo, ex-President Obasanjo, of his achievements, but I'm trying to make a comparison to an administration that had a plan for its health sector, an administration that has been making noise about having a plan, but nothing has been done. Now, I was arguing last week, or last 2 weeks, with a doctor from Ahmadu Bello University. He's a professor, actually. And he has graduated medical students before, and medical doctors before. And he was talking about Buhari's statement that nobody is immune to medical tourism. Just pray to God to keep you healthy. That was what he said. And I said, I'm disappointed in you saying that, you being part of the system. And you were there when you saw all the transformations the Obasanjo administration has brought. And since the inception of this current administration, have you seen any machine added to ABUTH or any other teaching hospital in the country since you came here? And you were here when the wife of the president complained about the deplorable states and conditions of the medical facilities she found in a place that is supposed to be the #1 medical center in Nigeria, the president's own hospital. And they could not attend to her medical need. And she cried out. She said, what is going on in the in the health sector? And she spoke. God bless that woman.
Who are you really talking about?
I'm talking about the wife of the president, Madam Aisha Buhari. I'm very proud of that woman, and I'm very happy with her courage and how that she's in the center of the government, but she can speak boldly about the truth in the government, regardless of whoever feels. The sycophants around the president don't scare her. The people that always sing the praises of the president when he's wrong is not her business. She just says her truth the way it is, and she didn't lie about the deplorable state of the hospital that she went to. And then she went to another hospital, I think it was Garki Hospital again, and saw the same thing, and she kept shouting, what is wrong? What is going on? Because she is aware of the amount of money budgeted for all these hospitals every year.
Now, whose fault is it now? We have the Minister of Health, I think Professor Adewale. Now, look at the president. If these monies are budgeted for and they are released, is one thing to budget and it's another thing to release. Now, if these monies are budgeted for and they are being released, so who stands the chance of packing all the blame of the deplorable situation?
I would say the president, because if you appointed a minister, he is an extension of you. He's an arm of you. And whatever that minister does, he reports to you. I think the ministers report to the president directly. So if something is wrong and somebody cried out something is wrong in a ministry, who is supposed to call the minister to order? The president. Is he doing that? Is he satisfied with all the things that his ministers are doing? Is he even aware of what they are doing with the monies he's entrusting into their care to do for Nigerians? Now, I've been around and I've been looking around. I said to myself that the primary schools that are owned by government have been placed in the hands of the local governments. And these are the highest in the country, because each state you go, there are probably 1 or 2 urban centers, semi-urban, because we don't have urban centers in Nigeria, urban cities. Now, most of the people in each state are living in the rural areas. I will use my state, for example, Plateau State. I come from Plateau, and my local government area is Jos South local government. Now, we have Jos North, which is faster than the rest of the cities, followed by Jos South, which is, catching up. Then the rest are rural centers. So out of 17 local government areas, most people live in 15 local government areas with deplorable states of, primary health care centers, deplorable primary education centers, because they call them local education authority schools, LEA primary schools. When you go to some of these schools, the pupils sit on the floor to be taught. Ceilings, most of the ceilings are rusted, and they could be disease carrying because they are even open. And when it rains, the children just play around and shout around, and they're happy because they don't know what's going on. The teachers there go to school when they feel like. In fact, they more or less like it is running on O2. Now, there's no money to run the schools. The local government chairmen themselves don't see money because the governors have been hijacking their funds. And whenever they release these funds, it's more or less like, oh, happy day. They just sit down and share these monies instead of using it for the grassroots, which is what is in contact with most people, the local government. So I have a feeling that most the people that could transport themselves to the cities where the big urban medical centers are, like the teaching hospitals and the specialist hospitals that are government owned, if you have to come there from Langtang South, you have to travel close to 3 hours with your disease, in your pain, to come to Jos South local government area, where the hospital is, to receive your treatment. So it's so wrong to leave the primary health centers in deplorable conditions, and whenever there's money to renovate those people, it's all about money for corruption. People, maybe 100 million is released. What we get into the renovation truly is maybe 10 million. It's really, really sad that this is happening. And then I don't see a cogent plan, and I don't see a revolutionary plan for medical help in the country from this particular administration. And it's not just peculiar to this administration, all the other administrations. The only administration that I saw did something that was definite, that was a calculated plan and an attempt to revamp the healthcare sector, is the Obasanjo administration. And he did that to about 5 or 6 teaching hospitals across the nation. 6 teaching hospitals in the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. And that's why there are facilities there that have reduced medical tourism. But is there any hospital today that we can say, okay, this administration, Nigeria is a rich country, we should stop lying to ourselves, that we cannot afford it. Most of the hospitals we go abroad for, or to India, or to UK, or to Saudi Arabia, or to even Egypt, or to the United States of America, the hospitals we go to, they are not so too expensive to build. And the facilities that are in these hospitals are not too far away from the reach of the Nigerian economy. You can't tell me that we cannot fund such hospitals. And if you're talking about medical personnel, some of the doctors that attend to us when we go for all those medical tourism, some of them are Nigerians. So we have the manpower. Nigerian doctors are some of the best doctors in this planet. So on planet Earth, when you go around looking for doctors, you will find Nigerians. So if you can gather them and bring them home, or the ones you have here, if you can give them an enabling environment, I don't think anybody would have to travel abroad for any medical treatment.
I think around February we saw, or the country witnessed mass exodus of medical doctors out during that this virus outbreak. What is it called again?
Ebola.
No, not Ebola. The rats virus. All right. Now,
Lassa fever.
Lassa fever. When the outbreak became very much in February, we saw, the nation, rather, let me not say we saw, experienced mass exodus of medical doctors out there. And they are going out there to contribute to another's economy. They are going out there to become the world's most, sought for doctors. And like what you said, most times by the time you go out there, they are Nigerians.
They're Nigerians.
What is the way forward?
You see, we need to make up our minds that we're a giant nation, and we need to be proud of who we are as Nigerians. And when you reach that point where you are proud of who you are as a nation, then you begin to question yourself about some things that you're doing. Like, why am I driving somebody else's car? Range Rover is from the UK. Why can't we make our own cars here? When you begin to have pride in the things that your people can do, then you begin to show other people that, yeah, we too, when people are showcasing their own, you too, you showcase your own. Then we now begin to tell ourselves we need a medical center that can do the kinds of surgeries that we travel abroad for. Whatever it is it cardiac surgery, is it heart transplant, or is it eye surgery, or is it the gastric surgery, or whatever surgery it is that we need. Is it skin grafting, whatever it is that we need, because our doctors are quite good. Whatever it is, whatever field it is, and we have doctors in all these fields. And if we need more knowledge, you can send some doctors abroad and bring them back. So the medical field is not a field where knowledge is hoarded. It's there. People have been saving lives for long. So you can have that plan, one, a robust plan to say, I want to have a hospital that my citizens don't have to travel abroad anymore. You can have 6 of them in the 6 geopolitical zones. For God's sake, how much does it take to build that when we have a budget of 8 trillion naira for 2018? How much will it take to build first-class hospitals in Nigeria and have all the facilities required in these hospitals?
Now, I want us to look at the sharp contrast between the government hospitals and the private hospitals we have in Nigeria. Because most time you discover that there are some things you'd want to do, and then by the time you go to private hospitals, you have them done immediately. You're talking about time saving, and you discover that most of these private hospitals, they are set to have the best doctors, and then you're still talking about equipments there, and of course, like I said, time. You're talking about quick service. So, against the background of what we have or what we see in our public government-funded hospitals, what is the sharp contrast there?
I think it's philosophy to service and corruption. When you go to a private hospital, people take that business personally because they know what they invested into it, and their salaries come from the returns, and they are responsible for that. So the mindset towards work is different from the public sector. I told them, I said, you think Nigerians are lazy or they don't have work to do? It's because you are looking at a Nigerian sitting in the secretariat in an office where it's all about politics. It's not really developmental. But go and check a Nigerian inside a bank or in a hospital. The same Nigerian is a Nigerian. The same, in fact, if this Nigerian leaves the public sector and joins the private sector, his productivity changes immediately because of the mindset and the mentality in the public sector and the mindset and mentality in the private sector. I said we need a government that would instill that level of discipline, all right? That level of discipline in the private sector, in the public sector, just the same way it is in the private sector. And if that happens, then we see, a gradation from, lasciviousness. We see a graduation.
Sorry,
from...
Can I just pick this call?
Okay.
So your name is what? Good morning. Go ahead. Sorry?
in a particular state, another they can still award. No, we know the police as people that they are. But why can't we experiment? Start something from somewhere. Let's start it. Put it to an outlet to do construction for to construct the fearful. We will see Nigerian government, government, people contract to China, and you want to see a Chinese, two Chinese. All the rest of workers are Nigeria. What are we talking about? What are we doing in Nigeria? We don't want what it takes to pay in Nigeria. Because we should be grateful we are Nigerians. This country is great. And thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mohammed from Kontagora. You can quickly react to this before we move ahead.
I know, but people are seeing it. Nigerians are aware. Nigerians can see that we have been towing the wrong path. It's so easy to know that this is the right thing to do. It's more or less like the world, the developing world has taken a stance. Let's go this way. Then this is the path to development. This is the path to victory. This is the path to success. But we African leaders were like, I think we should go this way. And we know that when we take this way, it will not work. And why? It's all about corruption. It's all about vested interest. There's this vested interest. It's all about nepotism. It's all about tribalism. It's all about religious biases. It's all about outright politics. All about personal gains. And it is so unfortunate that we politicize certain things in this country. And I said in 2019, what we need is somebody who is apolitical, somebody who will not play politics with development, somebody who has a heart, just like Thomas Sankara, to say, I came and met a problem, and I want to solve this problem. I want to move this problem away from us. Let it be part of our history. It should not continue. Constant power supply is possible. Why are small nations like Cameroon having constant power supply? And then we here in Nigeria, and I didn't mention like UK, I didn't mention US, I said Cameroon. Why are countries like Ghana, countries like Kenya having constant power supply? Then Nigeria is groping in the dark. This is 2018. And we have no reason, we have no excuse why we should be this backward. We have no reason whatsoever. And I saw a video of a lady talking about the issues we like talking about is how different we are. Religious biases, we're talking about you are from the east, me I'm from the west. That's what we talk about, but nobody's talking about how can we make clean water available to everybody across board. Nobody's talking about that. When the leaders come, what they do is they throw propaganda, and then all of us jump at it, and then nobody's talking about their performance. And then all that you have as a dividend of democracy is that my own is there. It's so wrong. We need to have a plan, and we need to have a passion to bring this plan to fruition. We need to create a pathway. We need to create a blueprint for this nation, and the sooner we do that, the better for us. Nobody is waiting for us. Every country is making progress except Nigeria. We need to get to a point where we get angry about all these indices. Why are we taking so much pride in our president staying abroad for too long in another person's hospital? All right, so why can't we just have our own, like say, okay, the president of South Africa or the president of England is looking for the best hospitals in the world and he came to Nigeria? Why can't we think that way? All right, why don't we just sit down and say, okay, whatever it is that, whatever we're going out to go and do there, why can't we build it here? Somebody said, do you want a trip to Dubai? I said, no, I don't want a trip to Dubai. I want to make Nigeria a place to visit. And I want people from Dubai to come here and have their own tourism here. So why can't we have that particular mentality and then begin to view Nigeria in that direction, in that light? So many things have been bastardized, okay. Truly. And by the time we do that, we can begin to fix the problems we have, especially the ones we should never play with, the health sector.
All right. Now, looking at the forthcoming election that is next year, with all this we have seen, and the presidents have declared interest in coming back again, and his constant breakdown that has to do with his health, constant traveling to take care of his health. Do you think this is going to affect him as a person? Like
honestly,
with his political ambition?
without any bias or any particular sentiment to anything, I think the president should not tour the path of our ex-president, God rest his soul, President Musa Yar'Adua. You see, when you have health issues, I think you should be at home nursing it, or in the hospital nursing it, or stay where there's less stress, where you shouldn't be in a place where 180 million people are waiting to hear from you, and everybody wants to speak to you, and everybody wants to your attention so that you sign their paper or listen to their problem and solve it.
Are you alleging?
You shouldn't be there.
Are you alleging that his state of health is as a result of pressure?
Are we saying that the president has not groomed anybody that he can trust this nation into his hands and say, I anoint you, go and lead? We will be like elder statesmen advising you people that are young and they are coming up, and then you people are there for us. Why should an old man who is tired, who is a grandfather, be there doing the work of young people for us? I think he should be somewhere at home resting.
I would want to take you back to him coming back. Let's remember that when he was coming out for 2015 election, he said he just won one tenure.
He said that.
He just wanted to, prove a point, score some political point that he's able to change Nigeria. Now, we're not talking about how effective the change has been.
I have a feeling that,
all right?
truly, it's not as if he lied. I have a feeling that the president really intends to do one thing, but there are psychophants around him who are disturbing him to come back again.
For him to come out the second time, he said that he's been under a lot of pressure from people for him to come out.
Which is not good. He shouldn't listen to them. They are trying to kill him for what they will get in their pockets. Because him being there, they would have their way. But I think you should not listen to anybody. The president should go home and rest. And advise the other young people that are coming up to fill in that position, and if they need guardians, they go to Daura and visit him, and spend time with him and come back to.
All right, now against that backdrop that people actually talked him into coming out, some people have come out to social media to say that our president never listens to anyone. So how come he wakes up and listens to the part that said go back to power?
Yeah, I'm not one to sit here and judge the character of the president. If he contradicts himself, that is left for them to solve. But I feel strongly that if this pressure is coming from people, then of course he shouldn't listen to them. But if he himself really wants to continue ruling Nigeria, because I don't think he's leading Nigeria, he's ruling Nigeria. If he wants to continue doing that, it's rather unfortunate. It's not good for his health, because we might witness 2 years in the hospital. The first year he came into power, he went to the hospital for over 9 months.
Yeah, 100 days.
Okay, so now we don't want to witness another prolonged stay in the hospital.
Now, do you think all these medical trips have affected the country?
3 months.
Do you think it has affected the country?
When the president is not around, it means if you have a vision and you have a direction that this country should take for 4 years, and you have not been around for 3 months, you mean at that point everything is in the shoulders of the person who is your deputy, who might not be running with your vision, because most people who are deputies are just following.
Now, what happens to the cabinet that he set up? Let's remember again that it took him like 7 months to have a proper panel set up, a proper cabinet set up. So are you saying in the absence of Mr. President, both the deputy, the vice president and the cabinet members won't be able to do anything, except he's physically present?
You see, like I mentioned earlier, we have a very, very funny brand of democracy in Nigeria. Even the ministers you are calling, there's ministers that are supposed to have their plans, right? Honestly, we run more or less like a monarchy type of leadership in Nigeria. All of them report to him, and it is what he tells them to do that they do. That is what's obtainable in Nigeria.
So when can we start having a pure democracy?
When we decide.
Because most of the indices we are seeing is not
democratic. The democracy starts when you and I vote, because only about 15% of legitimate voters voted in the last election. So what happened to the rest? Because the people who did not vote actually voted the wrong people for us. So by the time you wake up, all of you go there and say, okay, we have our franchise and we want to exercise it. And you vote the right people into office. I think we'll start getting the right things done. And this also means that you don't have to vote the popular faces or the usuals. It just means that, these same people that have been in power have been the same people using the same methods, the same style, the same knowledge, and this is all they can give. If you vote them again into another office, it's the same thing they will replicate from that office they left to the next office. Why don't you try a fresher hand, somebody that makes sense to you? Why don't you just somehow I think we just need to cleanse our minds.
Does it strike you
it's
that
a national
to this
cleansing
point,
that needs to happen?
Does it strike you that until now we are speaking, we don't have any person coming out from the other parties? I really don't want to talk about PDP. Because when you're talking about PDP and APC, they're the same party.
If you're looking for people, I've seen a lot of young people that are coming out from other parties, and they are promising. We've seen the likes of Fela Durotoye, we've seen the likes of Sowore, and all that. So there are people, you can't say that you've locked your mind that only APC or PDP can give you leaders in Nigeria. That's wrong. Are you saying that, nobody else in this country can lead Nigeria, only a particular political party? And I think we should desensitize our minds from this party thing. Because it's not about party, it's about the person.
The person.
So if you vote a party, you're just voting, a failed ideology. If you vote for a person because you know this person can deliver, then you can have hope. All right? So I think we should begin to look elsewhere. Whether we like it or not, things are not working, and we have reached the point where we cannot continue like that anymore. We should get angry about the fact that for over 40, 50 years, we cannot provide constant power supply for our people. And these are the things that have been in the campaign posters. If you vote me, I'll give you good roads. We still don't have good roads. If you vote me, the aviation sector will change. We still have a dilapidated aviation sector. If you vote me, I'll give you clean water. Still, we don't have water. And then they keep saying, if we vote me, and some of them speak so nice, right? And one of my friends on Facebook, when I was telling him about Fela Durotoye, he said, yeah, he has the swage of a president, he has the courage of the president and everything, but we have not seen his manifesto. Many people have the mind to give you very beautiful manifestos, but they are black inside. So when they come, it's only 1% of that manifesto that you will see manifesting. So the problem is that you should look for a person, check the person's heart, check the people's people like the reason why I'm talking about Fela is because this man has been running for a better Nigeria, a new Nigeria, right? And then he has said he's not running for office, he's running for a better Nigeria. So these are people that whether there's office or they are not office, they have been changing the status of the people they come across. And so these are things you should look out for. What is the precedence? Not political antecedent. What are the things that define a person's character? How do you know that when you put this person in office, he will turn around and do exactly what he said, the exact opposite of what he said he's going to do? How do you know? Is it because he speaks very well? Is it because he sounds so nice? Is it because his plans look plausible? Yeah, they could look good, but who is he? So most importantly, we should look elsewhere. We should think outside the box.
May I still remind you that the person of Mr. President was actually put into consideration during 2015 election.
You see, like I said,
it wasn't the party.
You see, like I said, AIT did great justice to Nigeria during that election, but we ignored AIT. AIT brought a video, I think it was 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours video of his person. The whole video was about his person, what he did, and who he is. But we ignored it. So you can't say that you have not seen.
No. What I'm saying is that Mr. President actually got sympathy vote from people because of his person.
Why?
So it wasn't just
because
the party
he caught
thing.
people and arrested them and all that.
People felt he was a disciplined person and all that. That was what was reigning then. So it was not the APC thing. It was his person.
But that's what I'm saying.
And then part of the manifesto that he was coming with.
We got a privileged video from AIT that tells us who his person. And exactly what they said in those videos is what we're seeing.
Okay.
So you saw it.
Thank you very much. This is where we'll draw the curtain on National Discourse today. Of our time is fast spent. Sorry we cannot pick all the calls we are supposed to pick. We'll hook up again on Monday because it's weekdays, where we'll continue with other discussions. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. And then for Nigerians that have lost hope, there is no need to lose hope, because once you are alive, there is hope to live. And then, according to what he said, for us to change the facet of Nigeria, for us to change what we think is not normal in Nigeria, go grab your PVCs and get ready for elections next year. We can do justice, and I keep saying, your vote is your right. That is the only means at which you can speak out and then prove yourself that you are really a Nigerian citizen. This is where I stop today. I still remain your host, Uche Uduma. It's a goodbye for me.